On the evening of September 8, 2025, David was on stage in Minneapolis, headlining a sold-out room on the biggest tour of his life. He was throwing Labubu dolls into the crowd and telling them not to fight over it. He looked like a kid who had won. 2,000 miles away, in a Hollywood tow yard, police were opening the front trunk of an abandoned Tesla because neighbors had complained about the smell.
Singer David has been arrested in connection with the murder of 14-year-old Celeste Rivas.
Inside were the dismembered remains of a 14-year-old girl who had been missing for 17 months. The car was registered to David. He finished the show and played again the next night. David Anthony Burke grew up in a house with rules, born in Queens, raised mostly in Houston, with a father who worked as a litigator, and parents strict enough that the only music allowed in the house was classical and gospel. No pop, no rap, nothing his classmates were actually listening to.
Everything we played in the house, music-wise, was just Bach, Beethoven, Mozart, gospel music, like classical stuff. Instrumentals only, like we didn't listen to any other music. Lady Gaga and all the popular artists everybody was listening to. We never could listen to that because my parents just wouldn't let us.
Then, after 7th grade, they pulled him out of school entirely. Not the version of homeschooling where kids still meet up weekly for sports and social time. The version that happens on a computer, alone.
There's homeschool kids that meet once a week at a specific place and they play like extracurricular activities like basketball and stuff like that so they can socialize. And then there's a second homeschooling where it's just strictly on computer. That's what I did.
He has talked about that more openly than almost anything else in his life. He thought he had friends, then nobody messaged him. Nobody asked where he was. He said it made him question what a real friend even is, and whether he had any. So he built a social life somewhere else. That somewhere was Fortnite.
Nick, what's the game called? It's called Fortnite. It's free.
Fortnite Battle Royale launched on September 26, 2017, and David was on it almost immediately. He has said he was one of the first people to ever play it, that he and a small group of friends would spend 8 hours a day hunting for whatever had just dropped on PlayStation.
I played Fortnite from 2017 to 2021. The game came out in 2017. I was one of the first people to ever play the game. I had like this small group of friends that would literally spend 8 hours a day looking for the newest games that were released on PlayStation.
Okay.
And I was playing Fortnite Season 1, like had all the passes, everything.
Okay.
But for him, it was never just a game. It was where the socializing happened. He would jump into squad fills, land in lobbies with total strangers, and let them talk. People would vent to him about their lives through a headset, and he would sit there absorbing all of it. He was 14. He has described it as realizing, for the first time, what humans were actually like.
I would go on Discord and I would go on Fortnite and I would go on like squad fills and I just let people talk to me and just tell me about their lives. Cause like most of these people that play video games the same way I do, they're going to it as an escape.
And I'm like 15, 14 at this time, so I don't know how to like be a therapist, right? But it's like I'm taking this information and all these different people talking to me about different like problems and situations. I'm like, wow, this is really what humans are like. Like, these are humans.
He wanted to be a pro. That was the whole plan. On September 30th, 2018, he uploaded his first gaming video to YouTube, titled Introducing the Best FaZe Console Player. He was not in FaZe. It was one of those clickbait titles everyone was using back then. The video was a raw clip. No music, no commentary, nothing. It has under 5,000 views. He went by Antonio, his middle name, then shortened it to Ant, then Chronic Ant, after a Fortnite team he wanted to join. His actual grind started in April of 2020, right as the pandemic hit and everybody was locked inside. He built a name in the Fortnite Twitter community as a builder and an editor, posting montages of his best clips. He put out a montage on July 3rd of 2020, repping Chronic. He crossed 3,000 Twitter followers on July 5th, 3,000 YouTube subscribers by July 15th. He joined a team called Assault, then left for Delirium in August, and then it stalled. On July 22nd, 2020, barely 2 weeks after joining Delirium, he tweeted publicly for the first time that he was not enjoying the game anymore. He kept going anyway, because he had no idea what else to do. Then, on October 10th of 2020, he posted the tweet that quietly ended his Fortnite career. He said he had come to the realization that he was probably not going to make it big off Fortnite, that he was going to try new stuff. His friends told him to keep going. He had already decided. He did keep posting. He got his channel monetized 9 days later. He got one genuinely viral clip in February of 2021, a 17-second video making fun of macro users that now sits at over 1 million views. But the trajectory was flat, and he knew it. Quick thing before we get into the rest. If you're finding this one worth your time, subscribing helps the channel more than you'd think. Alright, the thing that actually changed his life was a copyright strike. Like every Fortnite editor, David was putting mainstream music over his montages, because a song in a montage was worth more views than anything he could do with his aim. And for a while, there were no strikes, and the money was real. Then Universal started hitting him, and every video went from monetized to a red dollar sign.
I started getting copyright strikes left and right from UMG, and I'm like, what in the world is UMG? So I'm not making any money now. I got the red money sign on all my videos.
He went to his mother about it. Her answer was blunt. If you're getting copyrighted and you're not making money, make your own music. On December 21st of 2021, he searched how to make music on an iPhone, found an app called BandLab, put in his Apple earbuds, and went into his little sister's closet because it was the quietest room in the house. He looked up a piano-type beat on YouTube and freestyled the whole thing. That became a song called Runaway.
So this is December 21st, 2021. And I looked up how to make music on an iPhone, and this app called BandLab comes up. I click on it, I put my Apple earbuds in, and I use my sister's closet as the studio. And I'm looking up type beats on YouTube. I looked up emo piano type beat for the first song I ever dropped. And then I freestyled the whole thing.
It got a few thousand plays on SoundCloud. Then he made a second one, called You and I, put it over a Fortnite montage, and posted it to Twitter, with a title claiming he was the first Fortnite player to use his own song in a video.
Put it in the montage, and I tagged it on Twitter. First Fortnite player to use his own song in a video. That was the title. And bro, everyone was using the song after that day. The Fortnite streamers that I was watching and looked up to were using my song. Everybody was using my song because it was royalty free.
That was the moment. Because his song was royalty-free, every other Fortnite editor could use it without getting struck. Suddenly, streamers he looked up to were putting his music in their videos. You and I went from nothing to 100,000 streams in 3 days. Today it has tens of millions. He kept feeding the loop. Every montage got its own original song. He was, in his words, scoring his own videos.
So every time I'd make a montage, I'd make a song for the video. So I was basically like writing to sync. Like I was like scoring my own videos.
Then he went to TikTok, which he had avoided because he thought it was cringe, and he found his real audience was something ridiculous. He started making covers of popular songs pitched up so high, he sounded like a chipmunk.
I don't know if I get that full voice.
Did I cross the line? Wait, chat, I got range. Wait, chat, I got range. Did I cross the line?
That meme built him 500,000 followers.
But then after that, I became like this meme. I was making covers of people's songs and pitching it up so high, I sound like a chipmunk. And that was like how I gained my first fan base with the meme. I got like 500,000 followers off of that.
And every one of those followers found the YouTube link in his bio, which took them to a Fortnite channel. On July 17th of 2022, he posted a song called Here With Me. Disguised as one of the chipmunk bits, it exploded. The next day, July 18th, he posted a clip of a song called Romantic Homicide. That clip has 17 million views on TikTok. The full song went on to pass 1 billion streams. Record labels started emailing a 16-year-old who was still recording in his sister's closet. His parents thought it was a scam until they flew to Los Angeles. In September of 2022, he signed with Darkroom and Interscope, the same label as Eminem, Kendrick Lamar, and Lady Gaga. Here With Me charted on the Billboard Hot 100. He announced his first tour in January of 2023, released 2 EPs that year, opened for SEA, got songs placed in Invincible and Arcane, signed with 100 Thieves as a content creator in 2024, and by 2025 he was collaborating with Fortnite itself, the game that started all of it. That is the story everyone knew. There was another one running underneath it the entire time. According to prosecution documents, David first made contact with a girl named Celeste Rivas Hernandez in January of 2022. They met through Fortnite and Discord. He was 16, she was 11. Celeste was from Lake Elsinore in Riverside County, about an hour and a half outside Los Angeles. Her Discord account was created that same month. Romantic Homicide, the song that made him famous, had its music video released on September 7th of 2022. That is Celeste's birthday. The following year, he released the video for a song called Rehab. On September 7th again, prosecutors alleged the relationship turned physical in November of 2023, when Celeste was 13 and David was 18. During the preliminary hearing this July, text messages were presented in court showing that Celeste had an abortion at 13, and that in a January 2024 exchange, David apologized to her for putting her through it. He was not hiding her well. In January of 2024, he ran a Twitch stream with Celeste, sitting right there in frame, in a hoodie and glasses. Chat started making jokes about his career being over. He read them out loud, then turned to her and said he had media trained her. She said he had not. She said something back about it being controversial with kids, and the stream ended within seconds, with David telling his moderators to delete everything. Delete the VODs, delete all of it.
Where's your media
I personally don't.
Yo, I media trained you.
No, you didn't.
That's controversial.
It's controversial of raping kids.
Oh my, delete everything, delete everything. Everything goes.
In February of 2024, Celeste's family reported her missing. Her aunt and her mother both posted publicly asking for help. Police made contact with David. He told them he barely knew her and had not realized she was underage, then showed them a yearbook photo of her, which prosecutors later argued directly contradicted his own claim. Celeste came home about 2 weeks later. Her parents took her phone. According to court filings, David then drove to Lake Elsinore and paid another middle school student around $1,000 to hand Celeste a replacement phone so they could keep talking. On April 5th of 2024, she was reported missing again. This time she did not come back. For the next year, David's career had the best run of his life, and Celeste was on a missing persons flyer. Prosecutors say it fell apart in April of 2025. Their account is that Celeste had learned about other women, and that on the night of April 22nd, she threatened to expose the relationship. The text she sent, read aloud in court, said she would end his career and his life. His debut album, Withered, was due out 3 days later. He had a world tour booked and active endorsement deals. On the night of April 23rd, prosecutors alleged David ordered an Uber to bring Celeste from her family's home to his rented house in the Hollywood Hills. Her final message, sent as she arrived just after 10 p.m., was that she was almost there and to open the door. Prosecutors allege he stabbed her multiple times in the chest and abdomen and stood there while she bled out. Around 11:30, he drove north into Santa Barbara County. Phone and vehicle records presented in court show that trip happened 3 times, once that night and twice more in May. He was back the next morning for a radio interview about the album. He attended the release party that evening. Withered came out on April 25th. Prosecutors allege that between May 1st and 5th, he used a false name to buy chainsaws, a body bag, and an inflatable pool, and that the dismemberment happened in his garage. That pool became one of the most damning pieces of evidence in the case. An LAPD criminalist testified that the pool was found still in the garage months later, cut up and missing pieces, and that blue plastic fragments embedded in Celeste's right knee were a physical match to it. He kept texting her phone for 3 days after prosecutors say she was already dead. His last message was April 26th. Prosecutors say those texts were staged, written to build an alibi. He drove the Tesla until July 29th, then parked it on Bluebird Avenue and left for tour. 6 weeks later, neighbors complained. The car was towed. On September 8th, a tow yard worker called about the smell. She was identified 9 days later. Celeste Rivas Hernandez, 14 years old, found one day after what would have been her 15th birthday. The collapse was immediate. Crocs and Hollister pulled him from campaigns. Seattle canceled, then San Francisco, then Los Angeles, then every European date.
Today, ABC News learning David has canceled many of his scheduled shows and events, including here in LA.
His label suspended the album rollout, scrapped the deluxe edition, pulled the merchandise, and eventually dropped him. He broke the lease on the Hollywood Hills house and moved everything out. Then he went silent. For 7 months, nothing happened publicly. 3 separate grand juries heard the case. In January of 2026, a Caltrans worker found Celeste's passport on the side of a road in Santa Barbara County. On April 16th, 2026, David was arrested.
Tonight in Los Angeles, the dramatic images, a well-known singer arrested in connection with the murder of a 14-year-old girl found dead in the trunk of his car.
4 days later, he was charged with first-degree murder with special circumstances, continuous sexual abuse of a child under 14, and unlawful mutilation of human remains. The special circumstances are lying in wait, murder for financial gain, and the murder of a witness. He pleaded not guilty and has been held without bail since. His preliminary hearing ran 5 days this July. His defense argued that Celeste had lied about her age and that her family had known about the relationship. An attorney for her family said afterward that they were horrified the defense tried to put blame on a 14-year-old girl. Her parents sat in the front row for most of it and left during the sexual testimony, after her mother started crying. On July 27th, the judge ruled there was enough evidence and ordered him to stand trial.
David will be facing a maximum punishment of life without the possibility of parole, or he is also death penalty eligible.
David is due back in court on August 31st. The trial has to begin within 90 days of that. The district attorney has said publicly that David is eligible for the death penalty, and that his office is still deciding whether to pursue it. When police arrested him, they photographed his hands. On his right index finger, a tattoo reading, "Shh." On his left ring finger, one word, Celeste. When they recovered her remains, 2 fingers were missing, her pinky and her left ring finger, the one she had tattooed with his name.